Situated on California's spectacular Central Coast, the Elkhorn Slough is a hidden jewel, a winding waterway that meanders through rich salt marsh out to the Monterey Bay. Home to over 350 species of birds, charismatic sea otters, and sleepy harbor seals, Elkhorn Slough has witnessed great change over the centuries and has many stories to tell. Woven in time, the cultural heritage and ecological history of the Elkhorn Slough is a multimedia exhibit funded through a grant from the California Humanities Foundation. The exhibit incorporates a digital touchscreen, audio recordings, and historical artifacts. Through this project, the Elkhorn Slough Reserve seeks to strengthen the public's understanding of the connections between nature and human communities. The interactive timeline weaves stories from native peoples, early Spaniards, local Mexican farmers, and current neighbors with recorded ecological changes. The exhibit includes recordings from a recent oral history project, interviews of local farmers, families, and neighbors. These stories complement journal entries, news articles, and other historical artifacts dating back to the 1700s. Understanding and connecting changes in a landscape with cultural changes is a unique way of understanding and ultimately protecting this beautiful place. This exhibit was inspired and guided by the Reserve Stewardship Coordinator, Andrea Woolfolk, who married a love of history with the restoration work she leads on the reserve.
The Reserve's stewardship team uses an understanding of the past to help us plan for the future. As part of our science-based habitat restoration program, we use historical ecology to help us set land management goals. Of course, the past cannot provide a blueprint for the future, but there is real power in understanding how nature worked before the large-scale modifications that people created in the 1800s and the 1900s. Changes like draining wetlands, converting grasslands to farm fields, and drawing heavily on groundwater for crops. As part of our historical ecology research, we have uncovered facts, landscape patterns, and natural processes that were etched into tidal wetland soils, archaeological sites, the journals and maps of early explorers, government reports and surveys, newspaper articles, botanical records, and even paintings and photographs. Taken together, these historical sources paint a picture of Elkhorn Slough that in some ways is familiar, but in other ways is very changed. Knowing what has changed and why helps us think rationally about what we might be able to restore going into the future. We know the world is always changing, but a deeper understanding of Elkhorn Slough's long-term trends helps us chart a sustainable course of conservation for the future. And being able to share what we've learned with other people has been a huge and fun highlight of this work.
The new exhibit presents the stories of change in this landscape and the people who have lived and worked here in a way that allows area students, rural neighbors, and everyday visitors an opportunity to explore the cultural and ecological changes that have occurred in parallel across the Elkhorn Slough watershed for hundreds of years. Through this exhibit, we acknowledge the rich history of these lands and waterways. We acknowledge the people who have lived and made a living here for thousands of years and continue to do so today. The Elkhorn Slough Reserve encompasses 1,700 acres along the banks of the Elkhorn Slough. It is owned and managed by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in partnership with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Elkhorn Slough Foundation. The reserve is open to the public, and tens of thousands of visitors, school children, and scientists visit every year to walk the trails, participate in educational programs, and study the habitats and wildlife that inhabit this rare jewel.